All right, Sean Zattel here with the legendary Jim Lampley, ppv.com, and called a controversial draw tonight. The crowd inside Barclays, they did not like it. What did you think of the verdict, Jim? Was it the right call?
An upset draw is always a mixed bag for fans, for people in the sport, et cetera, et cetera. I thought it was, in essence, the right decision. The only question about whether the upset draw is justified is whether Steve Willis erred in not deducting a point in a late round when Tank Davis appeared to touch the canvas with his hand. And, that is going to stay in the woodwork and haunt the fight in the breach a little bit. But at the end of the day, it's a setback in Tank's career and for his reputation. I think most observers expected him to knock Roach out, particularly because Roach was moving up from 130 to 135. Sometimes when a fighter moves up in weight, he gets stronger, and it looked as though maybe Roach did get stronger and had a greater ability to resist Tank's power than other opponents have had, because Tank did tag him with a lot of clean shots, and he wound up throwing more punches than he likes to throw to get that done. He tagged him both on the chin and to the belly, et cetera, and couldn't seem to hurt Roach. And that was another surprise in the overall picture of the fight.
It kind of reminds me of the fight you called when Floyd Mayweather fought Carlos Hernandez, and he had the only knockdown of his career. He hurt his hand, but it was called a knockdown that night. And why do you think Steve Willis wasn't able? Usually a great ref. Why was he not calling it that time?
I was typing something into the computer for ppv.com, and this is the only downside of what we're doing at ppv.com is that if I want to make a comment, I have to type it into the computer, and it just happened that I was typing into the computer at the moment that it took place. Mm-hmm. So I know what took place, but I didn't see it with my naked eyes. And therefore, I can't offer you any interpretation as to why Willis didn't do what a lot of people believe he should have done.
You were there at the MGM when he fought Frank Martin last June. To my eyes, it seemed like a better version of Gervonta Davis, certainly more aggressive. But what's your assessment? How much of this tonight was he was maybe what you call flat, or how much of it was just Lamont Roach and made it the tough fight that he made it?
Let's give credit to Roach.
Yeah.
He was a big underdog here. He moved up 5 pounds to get the opportunity. He got better as the fight went on. In the late rounds, the question wasn't whether Tank was going to knock Roach out, but whether Roach was going to get the decision over Tank. So at the end of the day, I far prefer to credit Roach with what he proved and his performance than to say that this is all about some kind of Tank shortcoming. Tank was Tank for much of the fight. He couldn't hurt this opponent the way he has hurt virtually everybody else.
I spoke to you earlier in the week about Gervonta and Shakur, and you said, well, usually a great defender beats a great attacker.
I'll stick with that.
Yeah.
Usually a great defender beats a great attacker. Another person interviewed me a few moments ago and said, who would you pick right now between Shakur and Tank? And I said, off of what I saw tonight, I would lean towards Shakur.
And lastly, Jim, did you learn anything new? Do you learn anything new about Gervonta Davis from this fight? Anything that you look at differently through a different lens? Anything?
I learned that he is more sportsmanlike than a lot of people want to believe, both before the fight and particularly at the end of the fight when it happened. I thought that he was gracious and effectively sportsmanlike in dealing with Roach, and my estimation of Tank as a human being improved rather than to be diminished by what happened tonight.
What should be next? A rematch or should...
I want to see the rematch with Roach as quickly as Roach wants it, okay? I mean, Lamont Roach is the one who deserves to have a rematch and deserves to have it whenever he wants it, as far as I'm concerned. I think that Tank should be willing to agree to grant the rematch at some very reasonable and earlier than, a year's wait for fans to see what they want to see.
Thank you, Jim.
You're welcome.